Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our presentation on the best new features of Dynamics 365 Business Central. My name's Karen Blake, and I'm a solution architect at Microchannel, working with the Dynamics 365 Business Central product. And I'm looking forward to bringing you some of the features that have been released by Microsoft in this latest April 2019 release, over and above what's previously been released with Business Central back in October last year, and all of the other versions in between from what you may be currently on to this latest release. We'll do a little bit of a recap on those as well. So our agenda for today is to have a quick look at the D365 Business Central roadmap, just to give you an idea as to where the product is heading and what other things Microsoft has in store for the future. We'll then go in and have a look at what's new in the April 2019 release specifically. That includes things such as application enhancements, extended personalization and quick entry. There's improved navigation throughout as well, including improved scrolling lists and more shortcuts. Indicators and focus mode allow you to focus on the things on the page that are important when you need to. And a number of the views and inquiries have also been enhanced, more adding information to those lists and queries so you can find things more readily. We'll have a quick look at what's coming in future releases. Microsoft do release functionality on a regular basis and then have 2 major releases a year. And I also want to take you through how to participate in shaping D365 Business Central. A lot of the features that have made it into this latest release have been suggested by the community, whether it be partners, whether it be customers, and Microsoft have then incorporated them into their roadmap. So we'll just reflect a little bit on how Business Central has come about. For all of you, you're probably used to calling it Dynamics NAV. Some will even go back to calling it Navision. It's all now been rebranded as Business Central. That's regardless of whether you're on-premise or you're using the cloud version. So Business Central has effectively had 31 years of heritage. There are over 220,000 customers and 3.3 million users. It is sold in 196 countries and served by 4,500 partners, and these numbers just keep going up. If we have a look at the roadmap as to what we're looking at today with Business Central, we're looking at the spring release for 2019. It does go by the Northern Hemisphere seasons. However, what we also want to include is what's coming in 2019. And one of the things that you will notice on this roadmap is modern clients only. And I'll go into that a little bit later on. So we had our first cloud release in spring 2018, and then in fall, or our spring, we had Business Central and the rebranding, which has now brought us to this latest release. A lot of the productivity enhancements have been included for users, administrators and developers, even self-help and support. But what we're going to focus on are the enhancements for the end users themselves. So what's new? Some of the key enhancements that we think are pretty good and will help our clients in their day-to-day operations are things such as being able to write longer names and descriptions. For example, names and descriptions on journals were previously limited to 50 characters. They've now all been doubled to 100. Simple things such as adding a sales quote expiry date allows you to then review your sales quotes and delete those that may have expired. So it's a little bit more control over whether that quote is able to be turned into a sales order. There's been a number of performance enhancements and indicators throughout the system, such as autosave and work date indicators, as well as a whole lot of personalization improvements. A lot of these things you will see as we move through the demonstration. Just to give you an idea of how many features have been included with the April 2019 release, I put together this slide. So you'll see here that there are quite a lot, and this is still only looking at the enhancements for the end users. You'll see here that there's things such as physical inventory orders. Previously, physical inventory was all carried out based on journals. Now you can create a separate order for it, which allows that physical inventory stock take to be better tracked. There's improved contextual search. So fuzzy logic, if you do a typo, it's still going to recognize what it is that you're looking for. Preview posting was something that was introduced a couple of versions ago, but that's been extended to include things such as preview posting on prepayments. One of the things that might not be as relevant for those of you who already use Dynamics NAV, but the ability to set shortcut dimensions in column list documents and journal lines automatically. So if you have a dimension created that you want to show up on your entry windows, you can do that in one place now without adding those columns to all of those windows independently. So what we'll do now is we'll jump in and have a look at the product itself. So most of you have probably seen Business Central at some stage already, but what we're going to do here is just focus on those new features that I gave you a quick rundown of a moment ago. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new customer. So if I come up to my customer list in Business Central, you'll notice here that I can show that as a list, or I can show it as thumbnails, or I can show it as large pictures if I want. That was brought in a couple of versions ago. But I'm going to create a new one from a template. So I've got my standard customer templates. One of the new features that has been added is the ability to now copy those templates. I'm just going to choose my domestic customer one. So once I've selected that template, as most of you would know, there's a whole lot of fields that are then populated within Business Central. But what I'm going to do here is pop in a new customer with a very long name that now fits in the name field. So I can just keep on writing up to that 100 characters now. If I tab off that, you would have been very quick to see it, but up on the top right-hand side, I've now got a saved indicator. So part of the feedback that Microsoft received was that people didn't know when things were saving just because of the web browser nature. So they added it. Up on the top left-hand side, I've got a work date. So if I am working on any other date other than today's date, it will show me what my work date is. So now what I'm going to do is go and create a sales order for my new customer. If I go in and have a look at my sales order list, I'm just going to create a new one for my new customer with their very long name. I can start typing part of that customer name and it's going to come up and prompt me to use it. So a few of the things that I wanted to show you on this screen before we move through is the personalization changes. So if I go in to personalize this page, there are a few additional things that I can now do. So for example, you'll see here that I've got my order date. I've now got the option within Business Central to put this under show more or to show when collapsed. These are the field promotions that you would be used to seeing in Dynamics NAV. However, they've only just been introduced to Business Central and the web browser client. What we can also do is quick entry. So what that means is that we can go down to the fields on the line items and we can either include in quick entry or we can exclude them from quick entry. What that means is if I'm moving through the screen and it's not included in quick entry, it will jump over that field, making my data entry a lot more efficient. So for example, here I've got that description currently not included in my quick entry, which means it will tab over that as I'm doing my line items on my sales order. Once I'm finished with any personalization, if I just click on done, it will take me back to the window. So having a look at what the quick entry does is we'll go down to our line items and select an item, and you'll notice that the description populates, but as soon as I hit enter, it goes straight across to the quantity. You'll also notice here that the quantity is defaulted to 1. There's also the ability now to have that be the case across the board. So if you're typically selling single units, that could be beneficial to you. What's also been included to make data entry simplified is focus mode. So if you've got a whole lot of line items on a sales order or on a purchase order or invoice, you can actually drill down or just focus on the line items on that document. From here, what I can do is also select multiple lines at a single time to add to this document. And this feature has been included across both the sales and purchasing. So I'm just going to select all of my documents here, all of my items, sorry, here to add to this document. So when I'm in focus mode, what would have typically been a difficult window to view with that much information has now made it even easier. You'll see here that every single quantity is also defaulted to 1. From within here, I've also got filters. So I can filter this list by any of the fields that I've got available here. So for example, if I just have a look for blue, it's going to bring up everything with blue in the description. So focus mode can be really handy if you're dealing with large invoices that contain a lot of line items. And we can jump back out of focus mode. You'll see up here that I've also got a required field for an external document number. The external document number itself can be set to be required, but now it will also flow through from my sales order right through to my sales invoice as well. Previously, those external document numbers were dropped off along the way. So what I'll do is I'll just pop in an external document number before I process this transaction. So what I'll do now is just post my sales order, ship an invoice, and you'll see that that external document number has come through. So I might have processed this invoice, but now I've realized that it wasn't really a new customer that I was dealing with. So I might want to merge my customer records together. This is one of the new features that I think is probably the most useful. We've all had instances where we might be selling to different customers who might do a name change, or you might have different vendors you're buying from, which is the same thing. You'll end up with multiple records. So what Microsoft have done is introduce the ability to merge records when that happens to be the case. So from a customer perspective, if I jump into my Adatum Corporation, you'll see here that I've got 32 posted sales invoices displayed there in my fact box on the right-hand side. What I'm going to do now is that I'm going to merge this customer with the new customer that I just created. So my current customer number, and I then choose who it is that I am merging with. Once I've chosen the two records that I am merging together, it will come up with some mapping. So it will ask me whether I want to replace any of the existing customer with that new customer or the second customer record, and that's completely up to me if I want to override some of those values. If I don't, I can just simply click on merge. It will warn me that I cannot undo the step, and then it will go ahead and grab that new customer record, merge it into the Adatum Corporation, and then remove the new customer that I'd just created. So if we go back in and have a look at the customer card for Adatum, you'll notice that my posted sales invoices has now gone up to 33. And if I click on that, you will see the invoice that I just created is now sitting under a different customer. There's a couple of other things that have been added to the customer card that I wanted to point out. We have now got statistics that include our payment information for our local currency and our last payment receipt date. This was a direct result of requests that had come through from the community. What we also have under our shipping is a ship to address. So we can have a different ship to address now for our customers, and it's not just determined by their contact location. We have also got our statistics that can be shown for our customers down the bottom here as well. So it's a nice little summary of what's being presented in my fact box, but it also includes some graphical information so I can quickly see at a glance where this customer is sitting. Some of the other things that will be helpful in a day-to-day basis is having a look through things such as your customer ledger entries to find a record. So what I'm going to do is just go and have a look at my customer ledger entries archive to show you what I'm talking about. So I mentioned, or it was on the slide earlier, I may not have mentioned it, but you now have the ability to copy your customer and vendor names to your entries. So you'll see here that when I go and have a look at my customer ledger entries, I can see clearly the customer name. Previously, it would only show you the customer number. We also have some functionality across general ledger entries as well that have been posted. Having the ability to edit a description on a general ledger entry after it has been posted. So if we go in and have a look at our general ledger entries, you'll see here that I have a whole lot of descriptions. What I now have is an edit list component where I can go in and change the description. So this means if it's simply an error on the description, you don't need to go and reverse your journal and repost. You will note on this screen, if I go to any of the other fields, I am unable to change those. The last thing that I wanted to show you from a dynamic perspective in the product itself is the simplified help function that's been included. So if we go over and have a look at our help and support, first thing you'll notice is there's two options there for me. There's one for keyboard shortcuts, which will give me a list of all of the new keyboard shortcuts and those that have previously existed, or I can go to my help and support function. So what's been added here is a whole lot more information about how you can find what you're looking for. So find it. You can have a look at what's included under your specific role. You can have a look at the help or the contextual help itself, look for answers in the community, or you can even see which capabilities are coming soon. We've also got this new troubleshooting part here, which really helps partners like ourselves support you with the application as well. Having that information clearly displayed is all part of that support process. One of the things we wanted to cover today was how you give feedback to help shape Business Central. You'll see here that there is a link to a Business Central Ideas site. I'm just going to jump over to that. So if we have a look at the Business Central Ideas page, you'll see here that there's a whole lot sitting under financial management. And if I scroll down this list, for example, you will see ones that are under review, ones that are planned, and it gives you an idea as to when this functionality may be coming or whether other people are requesting the same things as you. And what you can do is go in and vote. So if you see something there that you think would be beneficial, you can vote for it, or you can make your own suggestion as well. So you'll see here that menu customization, being able to go in and personalize the menu within Business Central is now planned for October 2019. You'll see that the one above it here, the general ledger entries dimension codes, is under review. If you want to have a look and see what's been completed, we just simply click on the completed list here. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit to show you. We've got one here that is the possibility to plan a job queue for the last day of the month. That's already been completed and included in the April 2019 release, as is the one underneath, which is the one I just showed you, the change descriptions on GL entries. So both of these made it into the product due to the fact that someone raised them as a suggestion and they attracted some votes. So it is a really good way to have your own input into what Microsoft are going to include in the product. If I just move back to our presentation, I've got a slide in here on those Business Central ideas. You don't have to be a current Business Central user to register an idea. You just need to be part of the Dynamics community at large. So if you're already using Dynamics NAV, you'll certainly be able to log in and put your ideas forward. And we will also provide the links to you as a follow-up from this webinar. What I also wanted to do after covering off a bit of what's new in this latest release was give you a bit of a reminder that as to what has come in the last few releases. We realise that the audience we've got online today may be sitting on an older version of Dynamics NAV. Thought it was time just to give you a bit of a refresh. So what we've had come about is way more interoperability with Office 365. We've got Word layout editors, so doing our documents in Word. That's now just been extended to the warehouse documents where you can select different warehouse documents for your needs. Outlook inbox access. Really great when you can do a quick inquiry from your inbox without having to go back into your financial application. Might be a simple request to resend an invoice to a customer, and you can do that all without leaving the email. Cortana Intelligence was brought in a few versions ago. It was brought in to do things such as sales and inventory forecasting based on history. It's now been expanded and can do things such as your cash flow forecasts. So not only does it look at your settings, it's also going to look at the pattern of your cash over time. Embedded Power BI. Power BI has been in the product for a few versions now, and Microsoft just keep adding to the list of standard reports that are available. Fact boxes, queues, notifications, all things to alert the user as to what's going on in the system. Probably one of the bigger changes was the configurable workflows. So you can now do your approvals and things like that from completely within Business Central, but Microsoft have even taken that one step further with Flow integration as well. So Microsoft Flow allowing you to have those processes across different applications. It might be Business Central talking to Outlook or vice versa. And the good old edit in Excel. Being able to export and edit in Excel and push information back is really handy when it comes to doing things like complex general journals and the like. So we wanted to cover off quickly on what's coming. So any of the planned functionality didn't quite make it into the April 2019 release will be released in stages between now and October 2019. So after April 2019, we're expecting to see some few minor enhancements, which will see you gain the ability to save and personalize your list views. So if you've done an inquiry or you've done a list that you want to keep, you'll be able to save that in Business Central over the next few months. Notes and links. Now, these have always been available on the on-premise solution or prior versions of Dynamics NAV. They're going to be included in Business Central Cloud as well. Context or system indicators include things such as the work date, which I showed you, the save indicator, a few more of those coming on board just to help that experience at the end user level. When they're talking about improved all product navigation, it's quite interesting. Microsoft, because you're using a cloud platform, they actually know what's taking people a long time to find, and they do something about it. So the navigation evolves based on how many clicks it might take a user to get to the specific function, which I think is pretty cool. Once the October 2019 release comes about, the Windows client will be discontinued. And this is probably the most important information for our existing client base to understand. What does this mean? Well, it means you can keep using Business Central. You'll just be using the modern client, as Microsoft have termed it, which is available through the web browsers.